Hello everyone. Today let's take a look at this nightlight. This is just a pretty typical nightlight, which of course can provide you a small amount of light in the dark that doesn't really disturb you, but is still enough for you to find your way to the restroom or whatever. And not all nightlights are like this. For example, this one over here, snowflake, nice. If I plug it in, even under the bright studio lights, it turns on, as you can see. Well, you can hopefully see that the thing is glowing. But this one right here that we're gonna take a look at, if I plug it in, it doesn't glow whatsoever. There's a little LED down in there, and it isn't glowing. And even if I turn the light off, it still shouldn't glow. Or it does, because now the light sensor has been activated, or I guess deactivated, and now it turns off. And depending on how much light hits it, it becomes lighter or dimmer, which I guess is kind of nice. So, for example, there is a window to my right, and if I tilt the light sensor, this little black dot, toward the window, it turns off. So that's where the threshold is. And yeah, it's quite nice. You can see the LED in there. But today, we are going to learn how this thing works. And as you can see, it is not glowing right now under the studio lights. So, let's unplug it. Ah yes, the joys of North American extension cords. And let's take this thing apart. I don't think I'm gonna have to pause for this. Let's just rip this cover off. There you go. So we have our little LED, which looks not unlike the kind of LED that you would find in a Dollar Tree solar light. And there are two Phillips screws on the edges, or crosshead screws, depending on how you like to say it. So let's remove both of those. There you go. And now we can remove the cover. Perfect. And now it's really only being held in place by the light sensor and the plug. So let's go ahead and push the plug out and bend the light sensor out of its little socket. And boom, and just push the, give the remaining bit of the plug blades a little push. And then it'll fall out. So here it is. This seems to be a pretty typical circuit for a nightlight. This is a capacitive dropper, as you can see by the large high voltage film capacitor over here. It appears to be 470 nano and 250 volt, with a discharging resistor under it so that you don't get a zap off the pins if you unplug it. There is a diode for single half-cycle rectification, or maybe it's this diode, I can't really tell. I'm sure one of these is a Zener diode, so that, for voltage regulation at the output. There is, I guess, some resistor for inrush limitation, some resistors and transistors and thyristors, probably, for the light sensor, and this small electrolytic capacitor for smoothing so that the LED doesn't flicker. And this is a warm white LED, probably 3000 or 4000 Kelvin, which is right at the edge for warm white. And for some reason, it appears to have fiberglass sleeves, both on the LED and on the resistor, the photoresistor, so that's kind of strange. This S8550 is probably a thyristor, and this S8050 is a typical NPN transistor that's relatively common. Anyway, let's go ahead and reverse engineer this small nightlight, and we'll have a squiz at the schematic once the time comes. One moment, please. Reverse engineering is complete. Let's take a look at the schematic. Do you understand it? Well, unfortunately, I don't either. There are probably some errors in this schematic, including this wire that leads nowhere that I drew on accident because it would just have connected this all the way to the capacitor, and then I just realized that I could have just used the regular wire for that, and I apparently forgot to put a dot right there to signal that that is a connection. And so basically, it appears that this photoresistor is acting as part of a voltage divider, which turns on this transistor, which turns on the base of this transistor, which allows current to somehow flow through this LED and back into the power supply, which I guess is how all night lights that use the same principle do. But anyway... I am going to do something to this nightlight because, this nightlight currently has a warm white LED in it, and warm white is a pretty nice color. I mean, the lamp that I have right here, the studio lights as I've been calling it, is just a single 8-watt LED light bulb, and it uses warm white LEDs. And I think warm white's a pretty nice color, but for sleep, warm white contains just a bit too much blue to sleep well, so I want to replace this warm white LED with a red LED. This doesn't look like it's a red LED, but it has a red chip inside of it, a chip emitting red light, but it's just in a clear package. And if you're wondering where I got it from, it is from this giant panel of LEDs that was once part of a flashlight, and now I am stripping it down so that it can have some red and cool white LEDs. Of course, I'm not going to be putting a cool white LED in here. There's enough blue light in this thing, so, and if anything, I want to get rid of it. So as the soldering iron is warming up, I'm going to go ahead and get my snips and chop off this LED. I do want to save this, so I'm gonna cut it right here, but this is fiberglass, so I'm not really sure how this is gonna work. It looks like it works okay. So let's cut this and this. And now this LED, I'm gonna go ahead and remove its fiberglass sleeves. I'm gonna keep this LED, put it on the side, throw the fiberglass into the bin, and then remove the remaining 2 fiberglass sleeves. Now I have some wires that I can solder my LED to, and if you look on the board, there is a marking indicating which side is the positive, and with my LED, which I must have misplaced, the flat side is the negative, so, well, here it is. The flat side is the negative, so it will go like this with the ever so slightly flat side, if you can see, going on the negative, which is how LEDs are supposed to be wired. So let's go ahead and turn on the fume extractor. And now I will tin the leads that are over here, if you can see. Maybe I should bring down the camera a little bit. That's better, now you should be able to see what I'm doing. Let's go ahead and tin one leg. Tin the other leg. Maybe even more solder. And because this LED was desoldered, it still has some remaining solder on its pins, so I should just be able to heat it up and it will stick. Oh my goodness. Sometimes it gets a little droopy there, does it? Let's go ahead and clip this solder droop off. And connect the LED back in there. Now, one side is soldered and I don't have to hold it, so I'm just gonna solder the other side. Apologies if it's in the shadow. It is in the shadow, is it? Even more solder. Now I can add some more solder onto this pin, and the flux in the solder will turn it into a nice ball. And now the LED has been replaced. And I should be able to turn off the fume extractor. So I'm gonna put the camera back up, put it back in the case, and plug it in. So it's in, and let's see if it works. Of course, it doesn't turn on yet because the light sensor is still getting some light from the window, but if I cover it with my hand, boom! Now it's a nice red night light, and of course, red light is easier on the eyes, especially at night. So I think this was a good modification to this nice little light-activated night light. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time.